The Championship is back with a bang as the opening weekend saw 12 matches, 26 goals and lots of entertainment as the EFL returns for the 25-26 season. We take a look at each match, how things fared for each team on their opening day of the new season. Starting with Friday night with two teams returning to the Championship as promoted Birmingham City took on relegated from the Premier League Ipswich Town. Birmingham and Chris Davis selected summer signings Bright Samuel, Phil Newman, Kyogo Furuhashi and Damari Gray returning. Another new arrival, Tommy Doyle, was on the bench having had a virus this week. Ipswich hand a start to their new signing Azor Matisawa from Rennes in their midfield. Two other summer recruits, Ashley Young and Cedric Kipra, were amongst the substitutes. Leif Davis passed the fitness test, while Chira Obeni, it was the first competitive start for him in 9 months. The roar from the St Andrews faithful was deafening as the Blues took early control in this one, dominating possession, pressing high. Within minutes, Kyogo Furuhashi had the ball in the net, looping a sublime finish over Alex Palmer, but joy turned to fury as referee Andrew Kitchen ruled it out for a foul on Jacob Greaves. The first half was scrappy, littered with fouls and yellow cards. Asai Samuel and Jack Taylor clashed on the touchline, both booked in a fiery exchange. Ipswich struggling to settle, unable to stem Birmingham's momentum. The breakthrough came after the break, Furuhashi again causing havoc, dinking a looping shot off the post, and Jay Stansfield pounced, slamming home the rebound to send the home crowd into raptures. Ipswich responded though with urgency. Sammy Schmodix missed a golden chance after intercepting a poor pass from Ryan Alsop, and substitute Connor Chaplin added bite to the attack. Then came the twist. A late Ipswich corner led to chaos in the box. Lyndon Dykes, only just on the pitch, rose to the challenge and saw the ball strike his outstretched arm. The referee pointed to the spot and it looked a harsh one from close range. George Hurst stepped up, ice in his veins, coolly slotting home to snatch a point. Tempers flared, players clashed, and reports suggest a fan may have even made contact with Ipswich players during the melee. Speaking on the late injury time equaliser, Chris Davis said the penalty is harsh. You can go around all the games this weekend and you won't see many like that given. Over the course of the season, you hope you get those ones back your way. This is the second time Birmingham are playing Ipswich at home in their first league game of the season. The other time was a 3-1 win in the 95-96 season when the Blues were newly promoted to the second tier and Ipswich had just come down from the Premier League, so much similarities. The Blues showed promise in the second tier, looking to build on a confident League One campaign last season. They will be incredibly frustrated with the final moments, but they played well on opening night. Birmingham are in EFL Cup action in midweek as they take on Sheffield United on Wednesday, ahead of a trip to Ewood Park next weekend and Valerian Ismail's Blackburn Rovers. It was a really tough game, said Kieran McKenna. It was always going to be that on opening night. He added it had been a short turnaround and the squad needs to be stronger, saying Ipswich are a long way off where they could be. Now, Ipswich won only one of their last 20 away league matches at Birmingham, a 1-0 victory back in the 2012-13 campaign, which actually Mick McCarthy's first game in charge, that's how long ago it was. For Ipswich, it was a bit of a smash and grab to get themselves an opening day point. Nonetheless, much more will be expected from McKenna's men as they gel and likely to make more signings before the window closes. Ipswich take their side to League 2 Bromley in the EFL Cup on Tuesday before a fixture that last season took place in the Premier League as they host Southampton on Sunday lunchtime. Charlton Athletic took on Watford at Saturday lunchtime and Nathan Jones dished out a debut to Charlie Kelman after his move following his 21 goals for Leyton Orient in League One last season. Fellow new striking arrivals Harvey Nibbs and Tanto Alafe are on the bench. Paolo Pezzolano selected his first Watford 11 and handed a debut to ex-Udinese loanee Luca Kremgaard up front as well as Mark Bowler in defence. With 4 further summer signings on the bench as well, there were debuts for Luton stopper Thomas Kaminski between the post and Amari Bell in defence, as well as Robert Apter. Now in the match early on, Charlton were threatening. They exploited Watford's sluggish start. James Abankwah misjudged a bouncing ball and Greg Doherty forced Egil Selvik into a sharp save just 3 minutes in. Watford did slowly find their rhythm, Quadwo Bar and Luca Kremgaard combining well. Bar's 27-minute shot kindly falling for the Dane, but Lloyd Jones blocked bravely. Selvik was called into action again, denying Jones from a header and smothering efforts from Tyrese Campbell and Sonny Carey. The game then grew feisty. Hector Cipriano and Greg Doherty saw yellows, both sides having penalty shouts waved away. Charlton claimed Josh Edwards was fouled in the box, while Watford were incensed when Nestor Irankunda appeared to be clipped by Kaminski in injury time. With the clock dripping away, a late corner was headed back into the 6-yard box and Harvey Nibbs, on his debut, having played no pre-season minutes, crashed the ball home from close range. The Valley erupted. Watford was stunned. Nathan Jones said afterwards their keepers made some excellent saves. I thought we were excellent and thoroughly deserved it. More shots on target. Then to score in the manner that we did is a wonderful way to win a game. Charlton and Watford last faced each other back in January 2015. A game won 5-0 by the Hornets at Vicarage Road, but this one saw Charlton in the ascendancy, getting over the line with their late winner. There's nothing like a last-minute winner to reunite the Charlton fans with their team after a summer away. Home victories will be important for Charlton and they will feel that they earned this one. Charlton are reunited with League One opponents on Tuesday as they take on Stevenage in the EFL Cup, with a trip to Bristol City awaiting in the Championship next Saturday. New Watford manager Paolo Pezzolano was disappointed, but looking at the big picture, he said the most important thing is we have a young team that fought very well and it's going to grow. Watford had won their opening league game of the season in each of the last 5 seasons, the only side to achieve that feat in the top 4 tiers of English football since the 2020-21 season, but it was not to be this Saturday afternoon. For their new manager, it's a harsh introduction to English football, with the game never over till the final kick, a gut punch when Watford thought they had a point in the bag. And all Championship time midweek as the first round of the EFL Cup sees Watford host Norwich City, before the Hornets again host at Vicarage Road in the league against Queen's Park Rangers. Coventry City entertained Hull Saturday lunchtime as well. Brighton loanee Carl Rushworth between the posts for Coventry, though new arrivals Kane Kessler-Hayden and Miguel Angel-Brau start on the bench. Frontman Haji Wright remained sidelined with injury, but Ellis Swims was named amongst the substitutes, with Brandon Thomas Asante preferred in attack. Sergej Yakirovic has named his first lineup. John Lundstrom, on loan from Trabzonspor, handed a debut. Fellow new faces Ollie McBurney and Joe Gelhardt, whose return on loan from Leeds was confirmed in the morning of the game, started on the bench. Charlie Hughes, who had been the subject of plenty of transfer speculation, captained the whole side. The Sky Blues started brightly. In the 3rd minute, Tatsuhiro Sakamoto curled a low effort inches wide and Jack Redoni was denied by a last-ditch block from Charlie Hughes. Coventry's combinations were looking good, but they were struggling to get through Hull's deep defensive line. Coventry controlled possession and territory, with Milan Van Evik's long throws causing chaos. Redoni's header in the 32nd minute was held by Ivor Pandor, while Hull's only real chance came when Regan Slater miscued horribly wide just before the break. Hull nearly stole the lead though early in the second half. Abu Kamara broke down the right, but he shot straight at Carl Rushworth. Then came Coventry's best moment, Van Evik unleashing a curling strike from distance that crashed off the post and bar in the 53rd minute. Lampard then shuffled the deck. He bought on Haji Wright and Jamie Allen, but Hull's low block remained impenetrable. Liam Kitchen's header from a taut corner was straight at Panda as well, summing up Coventry's afternoon. 6 yellow cards in the second half, but no goals for either side. Frank Lampard said they defended their box well. We lacked sharpness up top, but I'm happy with the clean sheet. Coventry have won just one of their last 8 league games against Hull City. They're a regular side they struggle to find their way past. And it was a frustrating opener for the Sky Blues, hitting the woodwork, dominating the ball, but they couldn't find a way through to get the goal they needed. The EFL Cup will give Coventry another home game with a round 1 clash against recently relegated Luton Town, before the Sky Blues take on Derby County at the weekend in the Championship. Sergej Yakirovic said it was a tough game, we were under pressure, but defensively we were excellent. Hull had won 2 of their last 3 away games that have fallen on Matchday 1 of an EFL campaign, though they did lose their last 2-1 versus Norwich back in 2023. But this season the Tigers, fresh off a chaotic summer, showed grit and organisation. They left with a point that would have felt probably like a win. Hull take the trip to Wrexham in midweek to take them on in the EFL Cup, with a home championship fixture against Oxford United awaiting them on Sunday. Southampton took on Wrexham. Joshua Kouaji was Southampton's summer arrival from Hoffenheim and he made his debut, although new forward Damien Downs began on the bench. There was no Tyler Dibbling, Sam Adozi or Joe Aribo in the squad as talks continue about move away from St Mary's, while Portugal under-21 star Mateus Fernandes was on the bench. Josh Windass, Lewis O'Brien and Kiefer Moore form a new-look attack for Wrexham. Danny Ward starting in goal with former Leicester teammate Connor Cody at the heart of defence. Liberato Katache was also starting his first start as Phil Parkinson's side looked to bed his new signings in. Both sides started the game fast, with Southampton having a couple of early opportunities and Wrexham responding in kind. Then in the 22nd minute, Kiefer Moore was through on goal and shoved in the box by Ronnie Edwards. Windass then coolly slotted home the penalty from the spot. Wrexham were flying, with Windass lately rattling the bar, Connor Cody volleying just over. Danny Ward back at the club was immense for them in goal as well. Southampton had responded with waves of pressure. Jay Robinson hit the post and Adam Armstrong was denied twice. Ward kept out Fernandes and Stevens with superb saves, but despite Will Steele's side dominating possession and camped in Wrexham's half, Saints couldn't find a way through. Ryan Hardy, new signing for Wrexham, nearly sealed it, only for Gavin Bazunu to make a stunning save. Then the home side produced some magic, thanks to Liam Manning off the bench, curling a sensational 25-yard free kick into the top corner. And just when Wrexham thought they'd salvaged the point, Manning burst down the left, crossed it for Stevens, who smashed it in off the bar in the back post. A double gut punch, from dreamland to despair, in 6 minutes. Afterwards, Will Steele, managing his first game in the Championship, said, "We kept believing. That's the mentality we need this season." This was the first meeting in any competition between Saints and Wrexham since the 1979-80 League Cup second round. Saints winning that 5-0 at home and 3-0 away in a two-legged tie. A stunning end to this one though at St Mary's, which will hopefully form a Saints perspective like the touch paper to put last season's nightmare behind them. They pressed and pressed and was one of the most entertaining Championship clashes for sure this weekend. Southampton will enter the EFL Cup at the first round stage away at Northampton Town on Tuesday before a trip to Portman Road to take on fellow Premier League relegated side Ipswich. Phil Parkinson was left frustrated to come away with nothing. He said, "We were brave, but that's the Championship. One lapse and it's gone." Such an entertaining game, and Wrexham caused no ends of problems for Southampton. They could have been well cleared by half-time in truth. With their long-awaited return to the Championship 43 years in the making, it was nearly the perfect fairy tale, but Saints delivered a brutal late twist. It's Hull City who await in an all-Championship EFL Cup tie at home for Wrexham on Tuesday, ahead of a lunchtime Saturday kick-off against West Brom at the weekend. Middlesbrough took on Swansea in the 3 o'clock fixtures, Rob Edwards selecting his first Borough 11, with Hayden Hackney starting despite transfer interest, while Callum Britton started for his full debut. Ralph Vandenberg though was left out of the squad altogether amid bids from FC Cologne. Hackney partnered Aidan Morris in midfield with Morgan Whittaker and Delano Bergzorg supporting Tommy Conway. Ben Kabanga was past fit to captain Swansea, having recovered from a calf injury. Galbraith, Jay Fulton and Goncalo Franco making up the Swans midfield, with Ronald and Ji-Sung Eum on the flanks. Last season's top goal scorer Liam Cullen led the line for the visitors. Summer arrivals Melka Vidal, Bobby Wales, Caelan Casey and Zadina Nusa were all on the bench for the Swans. Swansea looked sharper earlier on. Josh Tyman fired over from a clever backheel. Ronald shaved the side netting with a 25-yard half volley, and Liam Cullen's header was held by Sol Bryn. Middlesbrough struggled to create. Morgan Whittaker nearly changed that. His thunderous long-range effort tipped onto the bar by Lawrence Figueroa in the 30th minute. That was Borough's only real chance before the break. The goal came after 2 quick corners. Whittaker's outswinger found Fry, who ghosted past 2 markers and flicked a header inside the far post, his first goal in over 3 years. Taking the lead gave Borough confidence. Alfie Jones and Callum Britton impressed on debut, and the home side started to control the possession. Swansea faded, managing just 1 shot on target after the break. Their frustrations boiled over a bit in the second half as well. 5 players booked, as well as a couple for Borough as well, ending in a 1-0 win in the end at the Riverside for Borough. Rob Edwards commented, "We weren't perfect, but we found a way. That's what matters." He also touched on what a proud moment it was for him and his family. Middlesbrough have won each of their last 6 home league games against Swansea City, 5 of those victories coming via a 1-goal margin, as they enjoy welcoming the Swans to the Riverside. Edwards' reign as Middlesbrough boss begins with a win then, thanks to a rare Dale Fry goal and a second half surge that broke the Swansea resistance. They're at home to Doncaster Rovers in the EFL Cup in midweek, and then the Championship returns for them at the weekend, away to Millwall at the Den. Alan Sheehan started his first campaign as Swansea boss, commenting, "A set piece or a mistake was going to decide it. It was very tight, with an encouraging first half but not enough bite in the final third." Swansea have failed to win any of their last 5 opening day fixtures now, 3 defeats during that time coming on the road via a 1-goal margin. A tight tactical opener, Swansea showed flashes here, but Middlesbrough found the moment that mattered. Their energy did drop off in the second half. They'll be needing more of that in front of their home fans starting next week. The Swans host League 2 Crawley Town in the Cup with their visit on Tuesday, with Sheffield United the next host to Swansea on Saturday in the league. Norwich City took on Millwall, and new manager Liam Manning opting for a three at the back system. He leaned heavily on his summer recruit, signalling a tactical refresh at Carrow Road. In goal stood Vladan Kovacevic, the Serbian shot stopper trusted to anchor a back three of Jakov Medic, Harry Darling and Jose Cordoba. Alex Neil, of course former Norwich City manager, stayed with a formation that had served well for him in pre-season. Stephen Bender in goal and a back four of Kramer, Tanganga, Cooper and Alfie Doughty. Up front, Josh Coburn and Mihailo Ivanovic were tasked with leading the line. Coburn, the club's record signing with his physicality and hold-up play, matched with Ivanovic's movement. The Canaries flew out of the blocks. Mirko Topic had two early efforts blocked. Jacob Wright's free kick was saved by Stephen Bender, and Amankwa Forson's dipping effort just cleared the bar. Millwall, well drilled under Alex Neil, absorbed the pressure and grew into the game. Femi Aziz's cross led to a snapshot from Camille Negley, which forced Kovacevic into a sprawling save just before the break. But the Lions struck first. Tristan Kramer wiped in a cross from the right, and Negley, unmarked at the back post, volleyed home with precision for their first goal of the new championship season. But Norwich hit back instantly. Bender hesitated on a clearance and Sargent charged it down. The ball ricocheted off his boot, looped over the keeper and nestled into the net. A bizarre equaliser, but Carrow Road didn't care. The game opened up. Ivanovic cut back for Aziz, who blazed over with the goal gaping. Fiscarda and Nunes came off the bench, but they couldn't convert. And Ben Crusane had a golden chance late on, but couldn't sort out his feet. Then came the dagger. Alfie Doughty threaded a perfect ball through the left channel, and Langstaff, who had only been on the pitch for 3 minutes, coolly slotted past Kovacevic to take all 3 points for Millwall. Liam Manning was frustrated not to send the home fans home with a win, but added, "We also need to step back and reflect on where we are. We know we have a huge amount of work to do, but we must accelerate that now and own it." Norwich were unbeaten across their last 21 home league games against Millwall since November 1968, which was their longest ever run against an opponent, but that came to a crashing halt at Carrow Road this weekend. The Liam Manning era at Norwich begins, its optimism, energy and debutantes, but it ended in frustration, with that Millwall dramatic late winner silence in the crowd. The Canaries take flight for their next 2 games, which are both away from Carrow Road. First up, Watford away in the EFL Cup, before Portsmouth at Fratton Park in the league. Alex Neil said, "There's been a lot of talk this week externally about our record here. I think we hadn't won since 68, which is a hell of a long time, so it's nice to get that off our back." Millwall had lost 3-2 against Watford in their opening league match last season, so a much better result here all round for Alex Neil against his former side. Millwall were clinical and composed, stealing it late but making a statement that their momentum from last season is very real. They head to League 2 Newport County in the EFL first round in midweek, ahead of a Championship home fixture, their first of the season, against Middlesbrough. Oxford United took on Portsmouth at the Kassam. Debutants Brodie Spencer and Will Lancashire making their first starts for Oxford, with Jack Curry on the bench. Gary Rowett opting for a 4-2-3-1 formation in front of the Kassam Stadium fans. Colby Bishop was a surprise presence for Pompey in their first starting 11 of the season. John Mousinho had claimed in the build-up he'd be out for weeks following a groin problem. However, Josh Murphy and Marlon Pack were not included in the squad for the trip. Elsewhere, summer signings John Swift, Florian Bianchini and Adrian Šegecic also got their debuts. Both sides struggled for rhythm early on, sloppy passes and tight marking making space a premium. Bianchini had the first real effort for Pompey in the 21st minute, but Jamie Cummings saved comfortably. The key moment of the game came in the 38th minute. Cameron Brannigan's loose back pass was pounced on by Bishop, whose shot was parried by Cumming, but Šegecic reacted quickest, rifling the rebound into the net. A dream debut for the Sydney FC recruit and a nightmare for Oxford's defence. Gary Rowett's side came out stronger in the second half. Stanley Mills forced a sharp save from Nicholas Schmid at the near post, and Will Lancashire had a header ruled out for offside. Jack Curry's long-range effort was tipped over, and Louis Sibley also blazed over from a corner. But Pompey held firm. John Mousinho's men, featuring 3 debutants, defended with grit and organisation as Oxford pushed hard, but they couldn't find the final touch to force an equaliser. Gary Rowett was disappointed not to pick up anything at home. "One mistake cost us. We were solid otherwise," he said, but that's the Championship. Oxford United are winless now across their last 8 league games against Portsmouth since a 3-2 victory in February 2022. Rowett was booked during the game for dissent and tempers flared late on. Despite 8 corners and 18 shot attempts, Oxford couldn't break through. They host Colchester in the first round of the EFL Cup on Tuesday, ahead of a trip to Hull in the Championship next Sunday. Mousinho was praising of his new Australian signing, saying Šegecic was superb, not just the goal, but his pressing and movement, a brilliant debut. Pompey have lost their opening league game in just one of the last 12 seasons, remaining unbeaten across their last 6 in succession as an opponent you don't want to face on opening weekend. A physical battle decided in the end by a single lapse, Pompey's Aussie flair making the difference, their opponents left to rue missed chances and a costly error. It's a fairly local encounter for Portsmouth in midweek, with Reading making the trip to Fratton Park in the EFL Cup, with their first home championship encounter of the season at the weekend, at home to Norwich City. Kwame Poku started on the right wing, making his debut after joining from Peterborough. Amadou Mbenge slotting into defence, offering physicality and composure alongside Leon Morrison. John Esquadinha, the Brazilian left-back, also made his first start. For QPR, Sam Field captained the side from central midfield, partnered by Nico Madsen and Elias Chair, operating as the creative force. Stefan deployed a 4-2-3-1 with Karamoko Dembele on the left, Zan Sila leading the line, Keely Adamson, Ryan Colley and Ruman Burrell amongst the attacking options on the bench. QPR started brightly, but both sides had chances, Lewis Gibson heading wide for Preston, while Poku and Esquadinha testing Daniel Everson. Elias Chair's crosses were causing problems and Joe Walsh also made key saves. With Karamoko Dembele electric down the left, he nutmegged Jordan Story, shrugged off Thierry Small and whipped a dangerous ball across the 6-yard box. Andrija Vukovic tried to clear it, but it ricocheted off teammate Ben White and into the net. A comical own goal, but all the credit to Dembele's brilliance. Just 3 minutes into the second half, Preston struck back. Goalkeeper Everson launched a long ball over the top, straight down the middle, and as Majic, last season's top scorer, raced through and delicately chipped Walsh, a classy finish, and Loftus Road fell silent. Dembele then nearly restored the lead with a fierce drive, but Everson tipped it wide. QPR introduced fresh legs at that point, Keely Adamson, Colley and Burrell, but couldn't carve out a clear chance. Preston's Alfie Devine on loan from Spurs added spark, but no end product, as both sides in the end settled for a point. New head coach Julian Stefan, the goal we conceded at the beginning of the second half, he said, had an impact on the players, and it was a difficult 15-20 minutes after that, but they tried. I'm a little bit disappointed with the result, but not the performance. QPR had lost their opening league match in each of the last 3 seasons. They'd never done so in 4 in a row and kept that record intact with a draw here against Preston. Julian Stefan's first game in charge had everything: flair, frustration and a touch of chaos, as QPR saw a Preston fought back to earn a point in this lively opener. Next up for them, they make the trip down to Plymouth and Home Park in the EFL Cup, while next weekend sees an away championship fixture at Watford. Paul Heckingbottom said it was an average first half, but much more intent and aggression and how we want to play in the second half. I've always said it would take a good team to beat us when we play with that mindset. Preston have failed to win their opening league game in each of the last 7 seasons, though their last victory on Matchday 1 had come before against QPR in the 18-19 season, but sharing the points this time on opening weekend. It was a tale of 2 halves, QPR dazzling early, Preston responding in the second 45, Osmai just taking the headlines and both teams walking away with a draw that felt fair but far from dull. Heckingbottom will take his side to Barrow in the League Cup on Tuesday, for they host recently Premier League relegated Leicester City next weekend. Stoke City versus Derby County. Divin Mubama started up front, making his debut after joining on loan from Manchester City. Sorba Thomas, another summer arrival, started on the wing, with Aaron Cresswell at left back. Lewis Baker, Ben Pearson and Baijan Ho formed a dynamic trio. Pearson's defensive cover alongside Baker's passing range and Bay's technical flair giving them control in central areas. Carlton Morris leading the line for Derby after signing from Luton. Danny Barth, formerly of Stoke, starting at centre-back alongside Michael Clark. And Louis Thompson anchored the midfield, supported by Kenzo Galmi and Corey Blackett-Taylor, who drifted wide to create space. Andreas Wyman, David Ozo and Dion Sanderson amongst the substitutes. The Potters were on the front foot from the start. Bajan Ho met Emilian Manhoff cross in the 3rd minute, but he headed straight at Zetterstrom. Sorba Thomas tried an acrobatic volley soon after, and Bosan Lawal glanced ahead of wide from another Manhoff delivery. Despite pressure, Derby held firm. Blackett-Taylor nearly caught Stoke off guard with a curling cross that forced Johansson into a fingertip save, and against the run of play, Derby struck first. Blackett-Taylor whipped in a cross, and Morris, on debut, improvised brilliantly, volleying into the ground and past Johansson. The away end erupted. Stoke responded with intent. Baker, though, picked up the ball on the edge of the box and he bent a right-footed shot into the bottom corner. Game on. With the match heading for a draw, Stoke found another gear. In the 90 plus 5th minute, Mbama, on loan from City, rose to meet Tatsuki Seiko's cross and he powered a header home. Then in plus 9 minutes of injury time, Sorba Thomas latched onto a pass from Spurs lonely Jamie Donnelly and fired in from close range. Derby was stunned and Stoke in delirium. Mark Robin said afterwards, "That's 2 goals from a new player and assists from a new player. That's fantastic. 3 goals at home gives us a really good start after a strong performance." Stoke have won 4 of their last 5 opening day fixtures, each of those victories coming on home soil at the Bet365 Stadium. Derby struck first, but the Potters' late surge turned opening day into a celebration. Mbama and Thomas instant heroes. Next up for Stoke, they host Walsall of League 2 in the first round of the EFL Cup on Tuesday, ahead of a trip to Sheffield Wednesday on Saturday in the Championship. "We had control, then we lost it. That's the Championship," said John Eustace, as they left Stoke empty-handed. Derby County have won just 4 of their 32 away league games against Stoke City now, and have also lost their opening league game in the last 3 seasons. Eustace saw a match flipped on its head, and he'll be scratching how Derby failed to hold on at the end. They're in action on Tuesday in an all-championship EFL Cup tie away at West Brom, before Derby host Coventry in the league on Saturday lunchtime. Alna Hegebo made his full debut up front, while Nat Phillips on loan from Liverpool started at centre-back. Torbjorn Hegem, despite transfer speculation, was trusted to start in the defence. Jason Malumbi and Alex Marrett forming the double pivot, with Isaac Price in the number 10 role. Sean McLaughlin made his debut at centre-back for Blackburn. Todd Cantwell was ruled out due to a slight thigh injury. Sydney Tavares also unavailable with his injury, which ensured Lewis Travers and Sondre Tronstad anchored the midfield as they did much of last season. Their experience and ball-winning ability were the hopes for Blackburn trying to control the tempo. Now, the match started and the breakthrough came in the end from the familiar weapon, Darnell Furlong's long throw causing chaos in the box. Debutant Hagabo back to goal, nudged it into Isaac Price's path. The ex-Everton man swept it low into the corner, 1-0, and the Hawthorns got a goal to celebrate on opening weekend. Nat Phillips was a rock at the back. Hegebo impressed as well with his tireless pressing, and he nearly doubled the lead after a slick move that involved Tom Fellows, but Balash Toth denied him with a sharp save. Valerian Ismail's side showed flashes. Yuki Hashi forced a save, and Axel Henriksen had a half chance, but Josh Griffiths in the Albion goal was rarely troubled. Late drama as Captain Furlong saw red for a second yellow. There were then 10 minutes of stoppage time that followed, but Albion held firm and won 1-0. Ryan Mason said, "It's nowhere near the end product. We're literally 6 weeks into something, but the thing we can guarantee is a toughness, a willingness to fight for each other. We saw that, and more importantly, we felt that." West Brom have lost just 1 of their last 8 home league games against Blackburn. The sole defeat was last season's meeting, so they've already won up on last year. Ryan Mason's managerial debut at West Brom beginning with a roar and ending with a red card, but in between Isaac Price's early strike sealed a deserved win over a Blackburn side that never quite got going. Midweek brings Derby County to the Hawthorns in the League Cup, while a lunchtime fixture awaits next Saturday at Wrexham in the Championship. Ishmael said, "What we have to work on is our work in the final third. We should be doing better with the last cross, the last pass. We didn't really test the goalkeeper, so we must shoot more on target." Blackburn had won their opening league match in each of the last 4 seasons, though this is the first time they're playing away from home on Matchday 1 since their 3-2 loss to Bournemouth in 2020-21. For Rovers, they looked rusty, they struggled for early day ideas, frustrations again in the transfer market. Pressure will be coming quickly if they don't improve in the coming weeks. Blackburn at home to Bradford City on Tuesday in the EFL Cup, with the Ewood Park crowd welcoming Birmingham City next Saturday. The evening kick-off in the Championship was Sheffield United versus Bristol City. Jack Robinson, the club captain for the Blades, was benched due to a lingering foot injury, with Reece Norrington-Davis stepping in. Tyler Bindon started at centre-back, a bold move from Ruben Sellers signalling his trust in youth, as Saidi Pett got the nod in midfield over Jabril Shumare. Emil Rish-Jakobsen started up front for Bristol City, flanked by Scott Twine and Anis Mehmeti, a dynamic trio for Gerhard Struber's side. The Robins deployed a 3-4-2-1 with Ross McCrory and George Tanner as wingbacks, key to stretching the play and supporting both phases. What a start to the new season. Yu Hirakara won a free kick 25 yards out. Scott Twine stepped up, curling a now trademark beauty over the wall. It left Michael Cooper frozen, a statement start for Bristol City. The Blades then did hit back quickly. Callum O'Hare pounced on a loose ball in midfield, threaded it through to Campbell, who rifled home from 12 yards to level. But Twine was again the architect for Bristol City, this time slipping McCrory in on the overlap. The fullback drilled it low into the far corner with a brilliant strike, 2-1 and the Robins were flying. A second half blitz then took the game away from Sheffield United. Emil Rees found Mehmeti inside the box just seconds after the restart. One touch, one volley, one goal. Reece Norrington-Davis then gave it away. McCrory picked it up and Twine's shot took a wicked deflection off Tyler Bindon to make it 4-1. Bristol City in dreamland. Later on, Vitek denied Louis Barry and Sam McCullum. Jason Knight made a last-ditch block in the 89th minute to preserve the scoreline, but it was an emphatic win for Bristol City against the much-fancied Sheffield United. Ruben Sellers was massively disappointed. He said, "We came here today, we wanted to have a good performance in front of our fans. Nothing went on the side that we wanted. There's a lot of things to improve. It's not good enough from anyone starting in my side." Sheffield United have lost on each of the last 5 occasions in their first league game of the season that's come at home. No one foresaw this though, a home drubbing on day one for the Blades. Just 89 days after being humiliated 6-0 on aggregate by Sheffield United in the playoff semis, Bristol City returned to Bramall Lane and flipped the script in spectacular fashion. The Blades will be looking for a reaction in their away games to come, with Birmingham on Wednesday in the Cup and Swansea in the league on Saturday afternoon. Gerhard Struber said, "We are so clean in our transition, so sharp, and also the finishing was on a very great level today. We're very happy with the performance and of course with the result." 4 of Bristol City's last 5 league wins against Sheffield United have now come at Bramall Lane, with the Robins scoring 2 or more goals in each of these victories, banishing memories of last season's playoffs in the process. Scott Twine's superb free kick was his 26th goal from outside the box in the past 5 seasons, 16 of them now free kicks. MK Dons will be the visitors to Ashton Gate in the EFL Cup in midweek as the Robins welcome Charlton Athletic on Saturday in the Championship. The final game of the weekend, and it was on Sunday. Leicester City took on Sheffield Wednesday. Jordan Ayew tasked with leading the line for Leicester's first game since legendary striker Jamie Vardy left the club in the summer. Abdul Fatoru made his long-awaited return and plays his first competitive fixture since November. Hamza Chowdhury, Harry Winks, Wout Faes and Asmir Begovic all named on the bench for Martí Cifuentes' first Foxes side in the Championship. Barry Bannan was captain in the Owls, fresh off signing a new contract with the club. He lined up in midfield against Nathaniel Chalobah, Svante Ingelsson, while new boss Henrik Pedersen named several youngsters on the bench after the Owls lost 13 senior players this summer and of course in all sorts of problems off the pitch. Against the odds, Wednesday struck first, Jan Valery whipping in a clever cutback and Chalobah arriving late fired home with the help of a deflection. The Owls ran straight to their fans, many of whom had delayed entering the stadium in protest, a moment of unity and pride in a horrible situation for Wednesday. Abdul Fatoru nutmegged Svante Ingelsson, he forced a save trying to respond, while Jordan Ayew and Bilal El Khanous both went close. But Wednesday's spirit held firm, Barry Bannan and Max Lowe throwing in crunching tackles and rallying the depleted squad. The equaliser came from a second half set piece, El Khanous delivering a low free kick and Vestergaard ghosting in unmarked to slot home. The Foxes were level and the pressure mounted. The Owls captain Barry Bannan then saw red after 2 quick bookings. One was for dissent and one for a late tackle. Down to 10 men, Wednesday's resistance began to fray. And the winner came late. A deep cross from Fatoru found Faes, who rose above his marker and powered a bullet header into the net. Relief for Leicester, heartbreak for Wednesday. The second half was stronger than the first one. We knew this would be a tough game. It showed mental resilience in the players that we want to push in the games. Leicester are unbeaten across their last 7 opening games of a league campaign since a 2-1 loss to Manchester United at Old Trafford to start the 2018-19 season. Leicester under new boss Martí Cifuentes found a way to win late in a match that was as emotionally charged as it was unpredictable. The Foxes are away at Huddersfield of League One on Wednesday in the League Cup, and with the following away game, they travel to Preston at the weekend in the Championship. Henrik Pedersen said, "With all they've been through in the last weeks, to deliver such a great performance today, I'm so proud of the boys. We played with a big confidence in the beginning. We were really well prepared." Sheffield Wednesday have lost 4 of their last 5 away league games against Leicester, conceding 2 or more goals in each of these defeats. Most importantly today, amid fan protests, financial turmoil and a third-best squad, Sheffield Wednesday arrived at the King Power with defiance in their hearts. They nearly left with a point. The Owls have an away cup tie on the horizon with Bolton Wanderers in midweek, with Saturday afternoon seeing Stoke City visit Hillsborough for their first home game of the Championship season. So we'll have a quick look at the league table. I know after week 1 it doesn't mean a lot, but it is great viewing for Bristol City and Stoke fans, no doubt about it. They'll be very pleased with those positions, but it is certainly a look away Watford, Derby and Sheffield United fans. Thank you very much for watching this video. For a live weekly chat on Championship as well as all three EFL leagues, do check out the Absolute Football podcast on a Thursday at 8:30 p.m. with our Absolutely Lower League show with Charlotte and the team. I'll be back next week with the Matchday roundup for the second week of Championship action. Till then, have a great week and I'll catch you on the next one.